Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Pitchfork Fiber podcast. My name is Hunter. I'll be your host today, and this is episode number 10. You probably can hear my voice is a little weird. I'm a little congested, and I have a cold, which is kind of sad because it's weird. This week has been kind of the turning point from summer to fall. It's a little bit cooler. I have my t-shirt quilt that my mom made me on my lap, drinking some coffee out of my Arizona mug. And the weather has just been a little bit, like today it's quite overcast and a little bit drizzly. So I don't know if the weather change has kind of prompted my cold, or everyone is getting the sniffles and being on the train, but I have it, so excuse me if I have to cough or blow my nose. I will edit that out. Let me just start with, I do have a finished object. Well, I have a half-finished object. And this was my scrappy sock that I started on the train a few weeks ago to Milwaukee to go visit a friend. I finished it, other than I have like these really long tails. But it's just this kind of blue. This is a hand-dyed that I made, or that I dyed. Blue speckles of green, and then this is a Halloween colorway that I had left over. Same thing for the heel, just that blue speckle with green. And then this is a Malabrigo, and then this is just some type of wool sock yarn that I got at Michael's or whatever. But I really actually quite like these. They're really fun and they fit very well. Just did let's see if I can turn this over. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I used US 1mm needles, which I believe are US 1 needles, 2mm needles, and I use 60 stitches. I always, it's weird because I hear people that use 64 stitches on a US 1 or on a US 2, and I'm just like, my socks would be so baggy. So I definitely knit with a looser gauge, because whenever I knit any type of garment or something that does need to be true to size, I always go down at least one, if not two needle sizes to get gauge. So those people out there that can just knit up a swatch with the recommended needle size and it be spot on, I want to be you, because it's a lot more swatching for me, but oh well. So that's really awesome. I really like this, and this is just living in my cute little hand-dyed, hand-waxed project bag that I made. So, next thing is, that's really, I finished that, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on something else, and I started a hat design project, but that I don't know how I feel about it right now. It's kind of in the process of, I just need work, and it's definitely experimental, so I won't show you that, but that is something I have been spending my time on doing. I told you, it's a hat project, and it's color work. So, and then the next thing that I was working on was my Cascades sweater by Michelle Wong. I'm using this lovely it's funny, I'm using Cascade Heritage on my Cascade pullover or sweater, but I'm using this beautiful birch heather colorway. It's a really beautiful kind of mustard green, yellow with brown. There's little flecks of other colors in there too. It's really, really beautiful. But I decided after reading some of the project page kind of notes, I wanted to do a tubular cast on, and I've never done that before, which I went online and looked up some tutorials on how to do the tubular cast on. Didn't seem that hard. However, I swatched for this. This is my swatch, and it's kind of weird because, so I swatched for this, and this is, so this is so bad. I don't remember the needle size, but based on the needles that I had on my circular, on my interchangeables, I believe that was the size that I had just finished, which was the smaller of the size. So this was a US 6 and this was a US 5, and the 5 got gauge. If I dropped down I liked this fabric, and so I just would drop down a size. So instead of knitting the large, I was going to knit the medium. So instead of the 46, because they're supposed to be like 4 inches of positive ease, I was gonna just knit the 41 with this, and it would have ended up, and I did the math, and it would be about 46 inches finished. So that's good. So I, got my needles out, and I was doing the tubular cast on, and if you know how to do that, but if you don't know, you use a crochet hook and then your needle, and then you like crochet with the spare yarn onto it, and then you knit into that, and then you do this kind of repeat back and forth until you can just start knitting in your pattern, and then you can rip out the spare yarn, and then you have this beautiful tubular kind of curled without any edges of it, and it's very stretchy. So I love the way it looked. So I had done that, and I have to cast on 220. I need 220 stitches for my bottom of my sweater, and so I did all that, and I knit many rows, and then it was probably like 6 rows in, and the first 4 rows are slip, so it goes slower. I realized that I had a twist in my cast on, but it wasn't like normally if there's a twist, I notice it and then I just start over, but I didn't notice it for some reason, and I had knit like an inch of this, which took quite a while because it's 220 stitches. And then I realized there was a huge twist in it, and I can't use that. So it's like, what the heck? And I even made sure like multiple times that there wasn't a twist in it. So I was a little bit upset about that. I worked for a few hours last night on that because I want to get this started. So I ripped it out. I'm gonna try again because I want this sweater to be really nice. So I want to take the time to do the tubular cast on both the, the cuffs around the neck and around the bottom of the waistband. So that extra little time is annoying to rip out and do over, but I think it will definitely be worth it in the end. The sweater is beautiful, and I want to, I really want the sweater. So this is definitely, I think, a product knit more than, it's going to be a process knit at the moment, but then once I get a little bit farther in and I realize, oh my gosh, I want this to be over, it's going to be a product knit. So that's that. It's a beautiful texture. If you follow me on Instagram, at Pitchfork Fiber, I posted a photo, a close-up of this, and you really can see all the texture. And it's a beautiful moss stitch. So that's that. that's really all the knitting that I've done. I've been on this big kick. This is slightly shifting. I've been on this big kick of about sewing, and you know, sewing isn't new to me. Like it's not a recent discovery. I've sewed for a while. Actually, my first quilt I ever made was probably in third grade or third grade. So I would have been like 9 or something. And I entered it into this art contest where I had written a poem and I made this quilt, and then my mom helped me fuse the poem onto the quilt. I mean, it was only this big, but then after that I never used a pattern. I never like followed a pattern. I always just did the math and figured it out. And there was many times that it didn't work. I got the math wrong because I didn't think about the seam allowance, and so it was like a ½ inch off, and I just made it work. So I've gone from there, and I think that that's made me understand sewing really well, because I've kind of figured it out myself, other than my mom has taught me everything I know about sewing, because she is a very good sewist. I wouldn't say expertise wise, like she doesn't do extremely well, actually no, that's not true. She sewed this beautiful quilt, and this isn't like your normal t-shirt quilt where it's just squares. This is like fussy cut and intricate, small piecing, and so that's not true. She's very good at sewing. Oops, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I hit the tripod. She's very good at sewing, but she sews more of like home, curtains, and she sewed our Halloween costumes. She did the kind of motherly sewing, and it wasn't necessarily using sewing as a means of like art form. She did that mostly through scrapbooking. She's like not your normal scrapbooker. Her scrapbooks are 3-dimensional, interactive. I mean, they are serious, which is really, really such a wonderful thing. But that's where she spends kind of her creativity. So anyways, I've been thinking a lot about sewing, and there's multiple reasons why. And first reason why was, well, I started watching I don't know if you are, but I'm watching season 16 of Project Runway, and I've been really into it. Like, this might be one of the first years where I watch it like while it's I don't just like watch a rerun of it, where it's a marathon. I watch it like I'm watching every week, and I'm into it, and I know the people, and it's really good, and it got my juices flowing, just about fashion and about wearable art and just about lots of things. And I'm in grad school, and I work kind of in the arts, in the humanities, and so a lot of people express themselves in a very unique way, and I really love that about working in the arts and being in the arts, is that people are not afraid to express themselves through the way that they dress or the way they look. And I love that. And so I have been at Arizona State for the past 4 years, where I wore the same thing every day. I wore a t-shirt and shorts because it's hot, and they were all given to me because I was an athlete. They were athletic gear. Nothing was, I didn't really have style. But now I'm starting to find that I have style, and I want to expand on that, but my style is expensive. And the things that I would gravitate towards are very expensive, and so why not, make it? So after watching Project Runway and watching some videos, it's really like it's not difficult to make your own clothes from a technique standpoint. It's difficult to get it to fit right. and to, you know, to make the pattern and do all that stuff. I don't have a form and all those things, so that's what's difficult. But the actual process of making it, it's like you just sew it and whatever. So I really wanted to make a bomber jacket. I really love those kind of, I've wanted one for a while. I've seen them in the stores, but they're expensive, and either you get ones that are really cheap that just seem like they're flimsy and will, you know, you'll wear it for a season, it's over, or you buy a really good one and it's, you know, $300, and I'm not doing that. So I thought I'll just make it. And I really love the idea of putting patches all over it, you know, getting funky patches, and I really like that. So I've been thinking about doing that in like an army green. But I've also been thinking about, you know, making some t-shirts, some long sleeve tees. Really easy, simple. I've done it before, but I want to make them a little bit, I just kind of like threw it together. I want to make them a little bit more professional, or a little bit more, you know, nicely sewn. So I'd love to do that. You know, I've been thinking about that. So clothing wise, you know, I'd love to make some pants, but those are all just ideas, and I don't really have the time to do that at the moment. That's kind of like a project, a weekend project, when I don't have a lot going on. But that being said, I do have quite a bit going on in school, and I'm in my 4th week of school, of grad school, so we're about a month in, and I'm really now kind of into the whole school, like I'm really into the thick of school. The first few weeks was just kind of like feeling it out, you know, doing my first few projects, but now I'm in the thick of it, and I'm reading quite a bit. Actually, not quite a bit, a lot. I have a lot of reading to do, whether that's articles or from books, reading my own writing, you know, just a lot. So in the school, we are given opportunities to think about research or think about things in the museum world, atmosphere, that interest us. And it's hard because in all these classes I'm getting you know, thrown a ton of information, and it's all amazing because at this point, you know, everything I'm reading is like very interesting for the most part, and it, you know, gives me new perspectives on things, and so I'm always thinking of new ideas. But then I have these projects at the end of each of my classes. We have quite a big project, so really the class is just reading, participation, maybe a couple little writing assignments, and then our final project, which is really our entire grade. And, you know, these are things that I want to start thinking about now, even though it's, you know, 3 months away, or 2 months away, 2.5 months away, 3 months away, whatever. Like, I want to start thinking about it now because I want to be prepared. And then also this thinking process has got me thinking about, you know, at the end of my master's degree, I need to be producing some sort of project or thesis idea that's cohesive and is, you know, put together and thoughtful. So I've been just thinking about little things, and I was thinking about ways to incorporate, you know, fine art into this. Out of all of the 14 other students in my cohort, I'm the only student with a fine art background. So I got a fine art degree, and where you're actually making artwork. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of people have come from more of an academic, anthropological, sociology, art history background. There is one girl, no, I'm going to take that back. There is one girl who got there's two, photography and graphic design. So ignore that. However, you know, I'm still practicing and in my art, and I would love to somehow combine my need and want to create with my research and topic of study. So I've been thinking of ways to combine the two, merge them, and and think of ways in which I can do that. And so in my one class, we have to present a final paper or a project that is some sort of research about museums. And it's pretty natural to think about museums in an accessibility way, thinking about, access. Who comes to museums and who's able to come based on, economic status, on gender, on cultural background, on, location to the museum, the city, all these sorts of different things. That's pretty simple. There's also, gender and race in the museum, thinking about who works there. There's all these different things. But I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I'm not sure, but I have all these ideas of things. So there was I don't know if you know who Kerry James Marshall is. I have his book here. Give me a second. I'm gonna go grab his book. Okay, so Kerry James Marshall is an American artist. He's actually from, he is from Chicago, and is a wonderful example of a political kind of activist probing artist. So a lot of his work is based on race. He's African American, and he creates a lot of his work about the identity and kind of insertion of Black people in a white community based on around art. And so his show Mastery, this is the exhibition catalog from, this is just a beautiful book. It's like this beautiful, it was at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago last summer is when I saw the show, and it really was just one of those shows that changes my perspective pretty much around the way I thought about his work. So if you don't know who he is, go look him up right now, and then you'll see his type of work. I'll show you some of his stuff. But Mastery was a show based around the African American role in a historically Western white European art world. You think of all the famous painters, and you think of the people in them, and they're mostly white. And in history, and what we've learned has really been whitewashed with the white race, and especially European. In his work, he makes the viewer think about the race and what we're looking at and how it differs. And so he's creating these really similar in comparison composition and to a lot of these master painters with normally white artists, but he's putting Black people and Black in his people that are identifying as Black in his works of art, and he's changing the scenes from these luxurious, palaces with ornate paraphernalia to, a Chicago suburb in the South Side. So, this was very inspiring to me. I'm going to go through some of his later works just because those are kind of what has inspired to me. But, this painting right here is, I don't know if you know who Winslow Homer is, but this is a painting that's referencing him. And you notice there's African American people in the boat instead of white sailors. This is a scene. This one's called 7 a.m. Sunday Morning, 2003. And these are huge. This is 120 by 216 inches. So this is like 12 feet, or I don't even know. They're ginormous. And this is, it's all paint on unstretched canvas. But this is an actual place. It says Rothschild Liquor, that's an actual place in Bridgeport, on the south side of Chicago. That's still there. Our Town. This is called Our Town 1995 101 by 143 inches. I mean, look how collage this is. This is really the type of work that has inspired me. So if you look at this, it looks like collage. It looks like, oh, it's wonderful. So this artist, Carrie James Marshall, has inspired me to do, maybe think about turning some of that style of work into quilts and making them based the ideas and the themes around museum education and museum, whether that's race, whether that's accessibility, whether that's, programming out into the community, whether that's, there's so many things, but I don't know, but I'm thinking about doing something in quilting, through quilting. And so then I researched a lot. This is super long-winded. Then I researched political quilting, because there's this huge movement around the Women's March and around the election in 2016 about people producing political activist quilts that are bold and are kind of in your face. And I was really interested in that. So I ended up getting to go to this talk. So I went last Sunday. I went to see Mary Fonz give a lecture about the history of the American quilt. Now, if you don't know who Mary Fonz is, she is a known person in the quilt community. Her mother is Mary Ann Fonz from Fonz and Porter, which is one of the leading brands of quilting supplies and instructions and books and magazines really all over the world. So she is one of the leading women in this community, and she's doing a lot of research and art history and conservation and preserving the history of quilting, which is amazing. But I got the chance to go to brunch with her and some other women from the Chicago Modern Quilt Guild, and we went and talked with her, and I got to speak one-on-one for quite a while about what she's doing and about what I'm doing. It was so inspiring to hear from her, and I'm really interested in this political activist kind of idea. So I've been really interested in quilting, and quilting is something that I've done. I've made quilts, but I don't know. All these ideas are just jumbled in my head, and I don't know what to do with them. So I'm setting up a meeting to talk with my advisor and one of my professors, and just kind of talk it out and let her kind of help guide me to where she thinks that I could go, and then I'll be able to sort this out, put it down and draw and sketch, and then start creating. That was super long-winded. However, I do have an object that I have finished the top of, which is a really pretty much new to a lot of you. One of these quilts that I have recently finished the top to was started years ago. I don't really know when I started it, to be honest. I'm thinking it was a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And it was supposed to be a quilt for a friend's wedding, a very close friend of mine who was getting married, and I wanted the opportunity and the reason to create a quilt. So I created a quilt that is the orange peel block. So it's a kind of a football shape with two kind of ends on it, which make it square, and then you put them together, it kind of creates a circle that then interlocks with other circles. And so I created that in their kind of colors of their wedding, and then I added a couple pops of color in there too. And I really liked it, but it just took forever because it was pretty much all curve seamed. I don't think I cut it out properly, so it was biased and things were stretching, and it just got kind of wonky, and I was like, I don't really like it. I'm gonna finish it, but I didn't really feel compelled to finish it right away. So I didn't, and I didn't end up giving it to them for their wedding, because it was still in pieces, and I wanted to give them a decent sized quilt, but I would have had to make, twice as many quilt blocks. So they recently just had a baby about a week ago, and I thought, what a good opportunity to give them this quilt. I'm gonna just not make any more blocks. I'm gonna use the blocks I have to make a quilt. I was thinking a baby size quilt, but actually I had quite a few blocks. I had 12 blocks. So the finished dimension is 72 by 56, so it's quite large. That's a decent sized lap quilt, and it will be a very large baby quilt. So I thought, I'm just gonna give it to them like this. I had to finish making one more block, and then I put the blocks together and I finished the top, and I'm actually really proud of it. It looked a lot less wonky than I thought it would. So I've inserted some video here of the quilt, and because it's kind of hard to show, but I have it here with me, and the quilt is a backing fabric of white with mixes of kind of teal and gray, a little bit of yellow and navy. Insert colors, and then I have it right here. This is the quilt, and it's, if you follow me on Instagram, I did post a really cool picture of it fully, the top completed. So I was thinking I want to finish this. I want to get it to them soon, but I also I can't afford to send this to a long arm. Like I definitely would have it long armed if I had the money, because it just is, it's so beautiful, that I think it would really benefit from a long arm quilting. Nice. I don't have the money though. This would be well over $100 to long arm, and it's not even that big, and I don't have that kind of money. So I was like, well, I'm gonna just do it at home, quilt it at home. But I needed to find a backing, and so I thought, I'm gonna go to a quilt store. Quilt store's fabric is always a little bit more expensive because it's higher quality, it's better for the most part, and they have a better selection of kind of designer brand fabrics. It's not just like your random calicos and things. It's like nice designer fabric. So I went to this local I was gonna say local yarn shop, but I went to my local quilting shop, which is just a little bit north of here. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll put it right here. I'll put it on the screen, and it was a wonderful shop. They had it wasn't very large, but of the kind of fabric they had, it was really wonderful. It was curated very well. They didn't have a lot of fabric that you could tell they had an aesthetic, and they stuck to it, and they didn't just have random fabrics that didn't really follow, they didn't have a lot of space. So of the fabrics they had, they all kind of were cohesive in the fact that like you could kind of pull and kind of see their style. And the woman there helped me out and helped me pick this backing fabric. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's navy background with these pops of kind of blue and teal. And I think it will like really go nicely with this, because this is kind of feminine. Just the pattern, it's just kind of feminine. Well, it's not feminine, but it has a kind of a rounded corner, light and airy block design. And then I thought a kind of funky, cool backing would pull it all together and make it, useful for a baby, for them to cuddle under the couch with, to lay it on the floor and have the baby kind of lay, just lots of stuff. And so I thought this was kind of a fun pattern. The baby is a boy. His name's Cooper, and I think this will be a nice backing. It was a little bit expensive, more expensive than I wanted to spend, but I thought, I'm gonna support this quilt shop. The woman was so helpful. It's beautiful. And it was definitely worth it. So I think this will be great. But I just need to figure out how to quilt this. And I'll put up a photo here again of the quilt. But I want, if any of you out there know how I should quilt this, thinking about on my domestic machine, I'm not very good with the whole free motion, curlies, and all that stuff. I think that will be quite hard. I don't know if I should just straight line stitch it, if I should just, I don't know. I don't know. So that's, if you have any ideas, look at this picture and let me know in the comments below if how you think I should quilt this. If I knew someone with a long arm, I would just go do it myself because I know how to use the long arm and I know how to do it, and that would be so easy. It'd be like, boom, done, 4 hours later. But no one I know has a long arm. So, but that's that. So my mind has been racing. There's so many things I want to make, quilting wise. I really want to make, I have fabric still to finish. I need to finish my quilt top of my quilt of my bear claw one with all the hand-dyed fabric that I made last year, the blues and the greens. But I'm thinking that one's special enough to go get long-armed, but I don't think the backing fabric is, I don't have enough backing fabric to like send it to get long-armed. So I might just, I don't know, figure out a way to do that myself. But I want to get that one done. And then I also have fabric to make a quilt for my mom and dad for Christmas that I need to make, but that's going to be simple. I think I'm going to do half square triangles and just big and throw it together. But then I really want to make a log cabin quilt, maybe paper pieced. I don't know. Or a funky Christmas kind of like churn dash style quilt, or Ohio Star, something. I want to do some, very traditional quilt block with funky patterned funky fabric, and then be that, I'm not a huge fan of like Christmas or holiday quilts where there's like Santa Claus patched work on it, or like applique, or quilt blocks that look like ornaments or trees. That's cool, but I want the color scheme to be Christmas and not necessarily the pattern. I want the pattern to be classic, and then just use the colors and the kind of essence of Christmas in the quilt, so that it's not in your face, but it's like timeless. I want that kind of timeless quality. So I want to maybe do that and do all hand-dyed fabrics, because it's better that way. It's cheaper for me and I get more control. And yeah, so that's basically it. I've talked a lot. My voice is kind of sore, so I won't talk too much more, but thank you for joining me today. This was kind of a random episode. Hopefully next time I will have more work done and actually start again my Cascade sweater. Maybe start the other sock of my scrappy sock. I really don't think I'll be doing a whole lot of knitting, like starting new projects. There's not a whole lot that I want to do, really, other than the sweater. The sweater's going to be the big thing that I really want to work on. So other than that, I think quilting, and if I get the go-ahead to start working on some quilting ideas for my classwork and for my studies, I think I'll be spending a lot of time quilting. So that's quite exciting, to actually have that be part of my, like, I have to do it, it's homework, it's exciting. So, but yeah, so I've had a very inspiring week. So I hope you do too. I hope you find inspiration in things, and whether it's on Instagram, whether it's in your life, in nature, in the people you're meeting. Be inspired to do things. I think it's hard sometimes. You get in a rut of just doing the same things, or you don't really know what to do next, but really look at the world around you and at what brings you joy, and then draw from there, and then you can find inspiration to do and make, or write. You know, there's so much. So I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you. I will hopefully have some more stuff to show you next week, and follow me on Instagram where I post almost daily, and you can kind of follow me along there. And if you haven't already, why don't you just subscribe to this channel and you can see what I do next. But thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate spending time with you all, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful and inspired week ahead of you. Bye.